it looks like Jen Rosati and Don Staley and all those folks that Cheryl Reeve, who had a hand in Caitlin Clark not making Team USA last year in the Olympics, the actual committee, looks like they may be gone.
All right, so picture this. What actually happens when the single most marketable female basketball player on the planet gets completely snubbed and left out of the Olympic squad? Well, it turns out it can absolutely blow up the entire system and shake things to their core. Apparently, the head honcho's roles are on the line. And trust me, the fallout from this decision has been absolutely massive.
I'd rather watch paint dry. I'd rather watch dirt just be moved around. Because Caitlin Clark's not on the team. If she's there, it's appointment TV. You people, whoever did this, honestly, hey, take your brain, put it in a museum, and study it for how dumb you are.
Following that absolutely shocking Olympic snub of Caitlin Clark, USA Basketball couldn't just stand by and watch. They hit the reset button, announcing a monumental full revamp of their entire selection process. And honestly, folks are being shown the door in what can only be described as a perfect dose of karma in action. Now, with the legendary Sue Bird stepping into a position of immense control, the Indiana Fever Stars' path to the bright lights of Los Angeles in 2028 looks drastically, incredibly different. Nobody, and I mean nobody, truly anticipated the sheer magnitude of the consequences that rippled out from that initial choice. So let's peel back the layers and uncover what truly transpired behind the scenes with Cheryl Reeve and the US Olympic Committee. And hey, if you're as hyped as I am about Caitlin absolutely dominating in the Olympics, make sure you slam that like button and drop CC 2028 in the comments below. Let's go.
It used to be a committee. Dawn Staley, Jennifer Rizzuti, and all of the hooligans associated in picking the USA basketball team. All of the hooligans, Cheryl Reeves included, so full of themselves, so bound by tribalism that they just couldn't look past their own nose. And at the end of the day, look at them now. Look at them now. The same fate as Cheryl Swoops calling those Dallas Wings games. Tell me when I'm telling lies.
Now, according to the official line, Caitlin Clark was left off the Olympic team by the committee for a whole host of valid reasons. Or at least, that's the narrative they desperately wanted us to swallow. Jen Rosati, who chairs this all-important selection committee, went on record claiming that only pure basketball criteria were used to seal the deal on that decision. She stated, quite emphatically, that experience was important, playing internationally was important, and get this, popularity and marketability were not factors in their deliberations.
Remember during the Olympics, a person from either South Korea or Japan, holding up the Caitlin Clark sign? Team USA looked at that gentleman and said, $, $. These people over there in Japan, these people over there in South Korea, they're not paying for Team USA to come and watch you, but they'll pay for Caitlin Clark. In fact, they are so strong about voicing that they'll pay for Caitlin Clark, they'll come to the Olympic game holding a sign that says, you guys remember.
Hold on. Just a minute, what? Are they seriously trying to tell us that they just completely disregarded the single most influential player in women's basketball right now? A phenom who also happens to have absolutely shattered almost every single NCAA scoring record known to man or woman. This is a player who in literally less than a year has single-handedly completely transformed and elevated the entire women's basketball scene, bringing unprecedented eyes to the sport. Does that even make an ounce of sense to you? And furthermore, let's debunk this idea that popularity was the only factor, because when you look at Clark's resume, you'll see she actually gained a significant amount of international experience, playing for none other than Team USA in the FIBA Under-9, where she wasn't just a participant. She won gold not once, but twice, and was even named the tournament MVP.
Decision on his part. Caitlin Clark is PR. That's where, how can they leave her? Once again, everybody's, out to get her. They don't want to grow the...
Let's really dive into what genuinely unfolded when Clark made her electrifying debut in the WNBA. It was absolutely wild. Every single time the Indiana Fever rolled into a new city, the cost of tickets didn't just increase a little. They skyrocketed, surging several times over their original price. Teams that previously struggled to fill even half of their arena suddenly found themselves boasting completely sold-out crowds, something that was almost unheard of before Clark arrived. And get this, More people tuned in to watch the Indiana Fever's opening game against the Connecticut Sun than any other NBA playoff game that week. That's a historic moment for the WNBA. Oh, and when it came to merchandise, Clark's rookie jersey didn't just sell the most. It absolutely dwarfed every other player's sales. It wasn't even a close competition. And that's not even mentioning the fact that during her simply amazing debut season, she wasn't just good. She smashed an incredible 62.
You got to remember, the National Basketball Association, the NBA, the commissioner, Adam Silver, he came right out and said, I wouldn't have left Caitlin Clark off that team. And he even said, and several others said, women's basketball really dropped the ball on an opportunity to grow the women's game by leaving Caitlin Clark off that team.
These weren't just improvements we're talking about. These were seismic shifts. The fundamental way that people consumed and engaged with women's basketball changed dramatically, right before our eyes. Yet for some inexplicable, bewildering reason, the Olympic Committee looked at all of this and still concluded that this athlete, this generational talent, wasn't worth enough to be on the team. The immediate reaction was an instant, overwhelming, and intense outcry from every corner of the sports world. Basketball insiders, who live and breathe this game, saw right through that flimsy, transparent defense. Even the always outspoken Stephen A. Smith didn't hold back, absolutely eviscerating the decision, and saying it deliberately hampered women's basketball's development at a critical juncture. And none other than four-time Olympic gold medalist Lisa Leslie, a legend in her own right, famously referred to it as the greatest marketing blunder in basketball history.
This is about what I will personally label the idiocy of Team USA women's basketball. How dare you make this decision?
And what do you know? This entire fiasco glaringly exposed an antiquated system, one that was clearly managed by people who were stubbornly unwilling to adapt or embrace change. The committee, it seemed, was still operating as though women's basketball was struggling just to get any attention at all, stuck in a time warp back to 2004. They simply couldn't or wouldn't see that Clark was so much more than just another gifted athlete. She represented a once-in-a-generation, golden opportunity to powerfully promote the sport as a whole, not just domestically, but on a truly global scale. Think about it. During the Olympics, casual fans, people who might otherwise neglect sports, suddenly tune in. It is, by definition, the prime time for the birth of new stars to capture the world's imagination. And yet, incredibly, the committee purposefully decided to exclude the one player who had so undeniably demonstrated her singular ability to attract those very specific, crucial viewers.
Dummies. For the first time, like in the history of basketball, you have arguably a player who is the most popular player in the world. Like, you could argue right now, Caitlin Clark is the most talked about, discussed, most popular, most puts asses in the seats, single basketball player in the world. You could argue that. Yeah, you can say maybe LeBron, Luka, whatever you want, but you can argue it. And you leave her off the Olympics team, it's not only a showcase for her, it's for the sport and the other WNBA players who are on this team. How dumb, how brain dead, how idiotic do the people running this thing have to be?
Ultimately, this whole situation boils down to a bigger issue, one concerning women's basketball potentially losing its vital prominence on the world stage. Something absolutely had to give, because the committee's unwavering, almost rigid emphasis on prioritizing experience ahead of celebrity power, and let's be honest, raw magnetic appeal, resulted in nothing short of a full-blown PR catastrophe. The public fury was palpable. It was simply impossible to ignore. The error was so blatant, so obvious, that it was utterly indefensible. And while the public's reaction was overwhelmingly negative, it turned out that the Olympic snub, as shocking as it was only the most visible, obvious aspect of a much deeper problem. What was really happening was that the entire operation of USA Basketball was quietly behind the scenes, exhibiting fundamental flaws that could no longer be swept under the rug or disregarded. The choice to leave Clark off the team wasn't just an isolated error. It was the inevitable glaring outcome of a fundamentally dysfunctional system that was already on the very verge of collapsing around its own architects.
I think if Caitlin Clark would have played, it would have been the biggest ratings of the Olympic Games last year. All right? And yeah, I don't know what it could have done to women's basketball.
Cheryl Reeve, for her part, desperately wants you, the audience, to believe that she had absolutely nothing, and I mean nothing, to do with Caitlin Clark's controversial exclusion from the Olympic squad. According to her own public statements, she claimed she had very little influence. if any, over the team selection process. And she even asserted that she was simply receiving a lot of criticism for USA Basketball, as if she were an innocent bystander. Well done, coach. What a performance. However, when we look at the actual facts, they paint an entirely different, far more revealing picture.
But as a coach of the home team, there's going to be a lot of people cheering for that other side.
So, let's be real here. Does that story actually hold water? Because when you really look at the evidence, you start to see a very different reality.
Not even one shift.
Any second guessing here about not having Clark on the Olympic team?
From me? No.
You see, Reeve, despite her protestations, had a clear and undeniable impact on the selection process. Even if she wasn't the only voice in the room, Jen Rosati, the chair of that very same selection committee, publicly acknowledged a crucial detail. The team was specifically assembled to fit Reeve's unique coaching approach and philosophy. Therefore, when Reeve makes these claims that she had no authority or influence, what she truly actually means is that she simply didn't want to accept accountability. When fans and the entire basketball world started asking the obvious question, why was the single most influential and talked about player in women's basketball stuck watching from home?
Along with nearly losing the gold medal game to France, the U.S. women's team was caught up in controversy leading up to the Olympics because Caitlin Clark was not on the team. The argument not to take Clark, a rising global megastar in the sport, was in part because she had not participated in many Team USA offseason functions, and also because there were women with more national team experience who had earned the right to play at the Olympics.
Now let's take a closer look at the actual players who were selected on that final roster. What do you see? A lineup predominantly made up of veterans who perfectly met Reeve's established criteria. Players who undoubtedly prioritize defense, sometimes even ahead of pure offensive firepower. The decisions made by the committee, from top to bottom, were entirely undeniably consistent with Reeve's well-known Minnesota Lynx philosophy. And here's the kicker. This approach, this unwavering adherence to a particular style, almost cost Team USA the coveted gold medal.
He is good enough to be on the team. Based on how Caitlin Clark was playing at the time, she was worthy of being on this team. This is Caitlin Clark up against Jewel Lloyd, Diana Taurasi, and Kelsey Plum. Yeah, it's tough when you see it in front of you, right? Chelsea Gray's not even on this graph. Why isn't Chelsea Gray on this graph, you may ask? Great question. Chelsea Gray started the beginning of the season injured.
Do you remember that absolutely crucial match versus France? A game that everyone expected Team USA to win, and win comfortably. Instead, the team narrowly, and I mean barely, prevailed with a nail-biting score of throughout that intensely competitive game. The team clearly struggled to produce any kind of steady, reliable offense, especially at the critical moments when it mattered most. Time and time again, the defense would collapse on players like A'ja Wilson or Brianna Stewart inside, leaving the ball stagnant, not moving, and resulting in a woeful insufficiency of three-point shooting. For these very reasons, a player with the unique skill set of someone like Caitlin Clark may have been the exact difference maker they desperately needed. At numerous points, the squad just lacked the raw energy and the inventive, free-flowing playmaking that so distinctively characterizes Clark's style, often appearing slow, predictable, and a little uninspired.
Caitlin Clark, based on skill, based on how she was performing, deserved to be on that team. Based on Chelsea Gray coming off hobbled from injury, you don't even know the status of her as a player. Caitlin Clark should have been on that team. She was easily one of the best players from Jump Street. Her struggling, oh my God, she's struggling with 16 points, 6 assists, and 5.5 rebounds. Oh my God, the struggle. She's shooting 39%. Yeah, Jewel Lloyd always shoots like trash. Kelsey, you got... Come on, guys.
And the most damning evidence against Reeve's ruling, it was provided unequivocally by Clark herself. Before being controversially passed over for the Olympics, Clark was already averaging an impressive 15.6 points and 6.3 assists per game. But here's the mind-blowing part. After being cut from the team, those figures absolutely exploded, increasing dramatically to nearly 23 points and 9.5 assists per game. She didn't just improve, she completely blew up. She even broke the WNBA rookie record with an astonishing 19 assists in a single game. This surge in performance didn't just make Clark look better, it made the committee's initial evaluation of her preparedness, and their decision to exclude her, seem utterly undeniably absurd and frankly short-sighted.
Look at this. These are the top 3 scorers in the WNBA since the women brought home gold in the Olympics a few weeks ago. 2 of the members are of the Indiana Fever, Caitlin Clark and Kelsey Mitchell.
The way Reeve handled the entire situation only served to pour gasoline on the fire, making matters infinitely worse. Picture this. Why the hell would I answer a national team question? Reeve snapped and loudly yelled in response to a reporter who dared to inquire about Clark's Olympic prospects following a game. It was a stunning display, as the questioning inevitably became more awkward and pointed. She was clearly, almost comically distancing herself from her Olympic responsibilities, even going so far as to wear her Minnesota Lynx clothing during what should have been an all-encompassing Team USA moment. This was much more than just a single poor choice or a bad day. This was about a leadership unwilling to evolve and change with the rapidly shifting times in women's basketball. And yes, Team USA did ultimately win gold, but let's be absolutely clear. They came dangerously, frighteningly close to losing it all.
So much conversation about women's basketball. The run you at South Carolina had to the national championship, a perfect season. Obviously, Caitlin Clark. And there was so much conversation on, should Caitlin be on the U.S. women's national team? You were part of the selection group. Give me your read on that now that we've got a little bit of time and we can get into some clear air to see what happened.
Right. When, as a committee member, you're charged with putting together best team of players, the best talent. Caitlin is just a rookie in the WNBA. Wasn't playing bad, but wasn't playing like she's playing now. If we had to do it all over again, the way that she's playing, she would be in really high consideration of making it.
The team's surprisingly poor performance on the court, coupled with Reeve's highly dubious personnel choices, and topped off by her consistently prickly and dismissive attitude toward any form of constructive criticism, all of these factors coalesce to produce what can only be described as the perfect storm of controversy and discontent. Something undeniably had to give. A profound change was absolutely necessary. A system that so stubbornly prioritized tradition and outdated notions of experience ahead of demonstrable skill and the undeniable power of marketability simply could not sustain USA basketball in the long run.
She is playing head and shoulders above a lot of people, shooting the ball extremely well. I mean, she is an elite passer.
If we were playing how she's playing now, she would be in high consideration. They can't even admit to themselves. If she was playing how she's playing now, yeah, she would definitely be on the team. We could have had our cake and eat it too. We got Kobe and LeBron on the same team. We did.
The entire Caitlin Clark issue, therefore, revealed far more than just surface-level shortcomings in the specific player selection procedure. It mercilessly exposed deeply fundamental systemic issues with USA Basketball's overall approach to team building and strategy. The repercussions demanded something far greater than simply switching a coach or shuffling a few players around. No. This required a total top-to-bottom rethinking of what Olympic basketball truly could and should be, embracing a vision for the future of the sport.
Sue Bird is expected to be announced as the managing director for the USA women's national team for the 2028 Olympic cycle. She will take on what is known as the Grant Hill role, selecting player rosters and coaching staff. And for those of you who aren't too familiar with the WNBA or the women's side of Team USA, and Grant Hill's a little bit new in this role, Jerry Colangelo role. Jerry Colangelo, the godfather of Team USA basketball from 2005 to 2021, picking, I want him, I want him, I want him, I want him.
And just like that, with a dramatic flair, the entire women's Olympic program at USA Basketball was completely blown away, in the best possible sense. Taking the helm as the new managing director of the women's national team will be none other than Sue Bird, a true titan of the sport, a 5-time Olympic gold medalist, a 4-time WNBA champion, and an unquestionably legendary figure in basketball history. But let me be clear, this is so much more than just a fresh face stepping into a top position. This appointment signals that the future construction of Olympic teams will be radically, fundamentally, and completely redesigned from the ground up.
USA Basketball will announce a major shift in its structuring on Thursday when Sue Bird is announced as the managing director for the USA Women's National Team 2028 cycle. Her hiring is a departure from a long-standing structure of using a committee to select players and coaches for national team rosters, and comes on the heels of a very close call for the USA women.
This pivotal statement, which originally broke in The Athletic and has since been verified by multiple credible sources, represents a truly significant shift in power dynamics within USA Basketball. Crucially, Bird will not be relegated to participating in some ambiguous committee that merely makes recommendations. Oh no, she will wield direct authority, not only over the critical coaching choices, but also, and this is massive, over player selection itself. Does that sound familiar to you? It absolutely should, because this is exactly the model that Grant Hill, who has been effectively in charge since 2021, uses to run the men's squad. It's a proven structure of direct accountability.
As financial opportunities for women grow in the sport and in marketing, USA Basketball wanted to make sure it was doing everything possible to ensure the allure of playing major international events remained strong, and a phone call from Bird is going to go a long way with players, one source close to the USA program said.
Just take a moment to truly consider the massive implications of this game-changing move. We're talking about no more enigmatic, behind-closed-doors committee decisions, where accountability vanishes into thin air. We're talking about no more instructors or coaches claiming to have taken bullets for selection choices they allegedly didn't even make. With Sue Bird at the top, the buck stops with her. If she wants Caitlin Clark on the team, then Caitlin Clark will be on that team. Period. End of story. And don't forget about this. Bird's incredible commercial acumen, her keen understanding of the business side of the game, combined with her unparalleled basketball IQ, makes her absolutely ideal for this incredibly powerful position. She inherently understands what truly drives ticket sales and what it takes to genuinely expand the game's reach. Bird has openly recognized Clark's distinct and undeniable appeal, famously stating, "Caitlin, especially her long distance, we finally found a cure for dunking. As I've always said." She also astutely realized that people's previously negative or indifferent perceptions of women's basketball were completely shattered and rebuilt by Clark's magnetic presence.
Sue Bird is taking over as managing director of USA Basketball. And this is done in a model of the men's way of doing it. Okay? She will have the say over who makes this team.
And let me tell you, that goes far beyond just simple generic praise. It's a profound acknowledgement of Clark's undeniable transformative marketability. Bird truly understands this. She is acutely aware that star power, that magnetic appeal, is just as fundamentally important as traditional raw basketball skills when it comes to growing the sport. While winning those gleaming gold medals is, without a doubt, the absolute main objective for any Olympic team, the Olympics themselves are about so much more than just victories and podium finishes. The ultimate goal, the bigger picture, is to introduce the sport to literally millions of casual spectators around the globe. Those who, with the right spark, could easily develop into passionate, lifelong supporters.
And Sue Bird's been a vocal supporter of Caitlin Clark. The fact is, while everybody was coming down on Caitlin Clark last year, so many, she was one that was trying to prop her up and was an advocate for Caitlin. I do not think you will. Caitlin Clark will not make that team next time. I can tell you that.
Additionally, Sue Bird brings a level of credibility with current players that simply no one else can equal or replicate. Think about it, she has faced off against or played alongside almost all of the league's most well-known and respected stars throughout her illustrious career. She possesses an intimate, first-hand knowledge of who truly gets along well with others, who consistently inspires their comrades on the court, and crucially, who tends to falter or crack under immense pressure when the stakes are highest. When it comes to assembling a meticulously crafted Olympic roster, that kind of deep, insider knowledge is absolutely priceless, and the timing of this groundbreaking announcement is certainly no coincidence. As the fallout from the Clark incident rapidly developed, USA Basketball watched in real time as the program's long-standing reputation was visibly, undeniably harmed. They saw a gold medal game that was uncomfortably, terrifyingly close to being lost. As women's basketball now reaches its exhilarating golden period of unprecedented popularity and growth, they finally realized that stubbornly maintaining the previous outdated and rigid structure was simply unsustainable and detrimental to the future.
Bird's new role is a major change for USA Basketball. Previously, the women's team and coaching staff was named by committee. Now, that is Sue Bird's job. Wow.
Sue Bird's appointment marks an undeniable, emphatic departure from the entrenched customs and the often suffocating politics of the past. Her leadership signifies that when it truly comes to creating these elite teams, USA Basketball is, at long last, prepared to enthusiastically embrace both unparalleled elite talent and the undeniable power of marketability. There will be no more old-fashioned, archaic thinking. There will be no more enigmatic, frustrating committee rulings made in the shadows. Instead, we'll see simple, transparent basketball selections made by a singular person who is profoundly knowledgeable about both the intricacies of the game itself and its crucial business aspects. So what exactly does this monumental reorganization, this seismic shift, mean specifically for the future of Caitlin Clark? Well, her chances of not only competing but absolutely shining in the Olympics have significantly dramatically improved. And let me tell you, the thrilling tale of her possible Olympic salvation is truly just getting started.